Hi there BookTube, it's Eleanor here, and today I'm doing the I Dare You tag. So I was very kindly tagged in this by the lovely Kerry Ann, whose channel is Woman vs Books, and I will link her down below and her answers to the tag. She's lovely, so you should definitely all go and check her out. I don't know who the original creator of this tag is, and I tried to look it up, and when I found who I thought it was, the questions were different. So I'm really sorry if you're the original creator of this and I haven't mentioned you down below, and please let me know if you are and I can make sure to link your video as well in the description. There's 19 questions for this, so we're going to move quite quickly. But unfortunately for a couple of them, you'll find out I just don't have answers, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So, question 1. What book has been on your shelf the longest? Well, if you know me and you've watched my videos, you know that I only keep 5-star reads, and that is something very new. Normally, I would get rid of all books. I know, sorry, I'm a reader and not a collector. These don't always go hand in hand, so some people are readers and collectors, but I'm just a reader, and it's only since starting BookTube that I've started keeping books, and I only keep 5-star reads. However, there are a few exceptions to that, and they are children's books that I kept from a young age, ones that I loved and read over and over again that I want my daughter to enjoy as she grows up. The two ones that I wanted to talk about are both part of a series, or maybe there was only 2 books in this series, I don't know. They're called Biscuit, Buttons and Pickles, and this one is called The Ragdoll Press, and I just adored these books and these stories. They had the most gorgeous illustrations, and they were about these rag dolls. And this one was the Thorn Witch and set sort of a fancy dress party. But they were just such wonderful books with some really beautiful illustrations through, and these have been on my shelf the longest. The next question is, what's your current read, last read and next read? So currently I'm just about to start Winger by Andrew Smith. This is going to be a tick in the box for my Shelf Slam, which is one-word titles, and it's about time I get to it. I don't know much about this. I think it's about bullying. I think it's about a boy who plays rugby, but I don't know anything else. And then the last book I read, unfortunately I haven't got, but I'll stick a picture here, and that is Cell 7 by Kerry Drury. I really enjoyed this, and it was a really interesting story. The basic idea, and it reminded me of a film, but I can't for the life of me remember what the film was called. The basic idea in this is that the justice system has changed. No longer, if you commit a crime, do you go to court and get evidence built up and you have to plead your case. Now you go straight, especially if you've committed like a murder, you go into these cells, cell 1, and you're there for 7 days. The 7th day, depending on how the public have voted, in a kind of online voting system like the X Factor, you are put to death in the electric chair. And so therefore there is this massive skew, because obviously people with more money are voting more, and there is this sort of mass like hysteria, and people sort of egg each other on. There's not fair representation in the media, and it's just totally corrupt and doesn't work. And we're following our main character, who is arrested over the body of a man who is a well-loved celebrity who's clawed himself out from sort of the grimy slums to become this sort of famous celebrity who does this wonderful charity work. She is caught red-handed standing over him with a gun saying, "I did it, I shot him." And then we're following her case. It's fun because we're following this sort of TV show that's daily talking about the case, and has obviously got these sort of caricaturists. And the presenters of this reminded me very much of the presenters of the a cappella things in Pitch Perfect. It was that kind of like ridiculous banter between the two. Anyway, it was a really good story. It's the start of a series, or at least the start of a duology, and I think the second one's out this summer. I didn't know that. I picked it up from the library, but it was really good. I really enjoyed it, and I gave it 4 stars. And then the book that I'm going to be reading next is for the SFF Awards, and that is A Gathering of Shadows by V. Schwab. I'm a bit sad I've got to read this because I didn't really enjoy the first book in this series, which was called A Darker Shade of Magic. However, I'm going to read it and see. I will keep an open mind. Next up is a book I also don't have, because the question is a book that everyone liked and you hated. Hated is a very strong word. There aren't really any books out there that I hated. However, the most recent book that I DNF'd was The Essex Serpent. I'll put a picture of it here. It's just not my writing style. It's just not the type of book that really appealed to me. I gave it 100 pages and I had to put it down. So that would be my choice for that. Next is what book do you keep telling yourself you're going to read but probably won't. For this I'm going for a little bit of a series, and I've had these on my shelf for a long time, and it's the Gunslinger, the Dark Tower series. So we've got the Gunslinger, the Drawing of the Three, the Wastelands and Wizard and Glass. I've had it for so long. I keep getting intimidated. I keep hearing slightly negative reviews. I keep meaning to, I keep thinking I will, but whether that happens or not, I don't know. The next question is, what book are you saving for retirement? Well, and this question, I took it to be, what book are you finding a bit intimidating, you need lots of time for? And one of the biggest books on my shelf, I think, is Stephen King's Under the Dome. This is a whooping book. Actually, it's not as long as it looks because the pages must be thick, but it's well in the 800 to 900 pages category. It's heavy. It seems quite hefty. I think I'd need a lot of time, possibly retirement, to read this one. The next question is, last page, read it first or wait till the end? Definitely wait to the end. I can't stand the thought of spoiling myself and reading the last page. I don't know how people do it. So yeah, I would never ever read the last page. Oh. Next is acknowledgement, waste of paper and ink or interesting aside. I don't always read the acknowledgement, but I think it's an interesting aside. I don't think it's a waste of paper. I think it's interesting to see what people have put for their acknowledgements. Yeah, I definitely think that acknowledgements are important, and actually this is quite timely because I know that my friend Mercedes from Mercy's Bookish Musings recently did a video talking about her favourite acknowledgements in books. So I'll link that down below because I think she found some that just prove that actually an acknowledgement isn't a waste of paper and they can be really powerful and impactful. Next up is which book character you would change places with. I'm not sure there is anybody that I would particularly swap places with. Maybe someone like Alice from Alice in Wonderland, who gets to visit somewhere totally magical and strange and weird. Yeah, maybe Dorothy from Wizard of Oz. I think I would swap places with someone who got to visit a fairy tale magical land and there wasn't too much trouble there. Yeah, I'd find that an interesting place to be and really exciting. Oh! What about Charlie from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? Definitely. Oh, that encompasses my favourite things. Chocolate, and chocolate in a really interesting way, and yeah, maybe Charlie. The next question is if you have a book that reminds you of a specific time and place. This one, when I show you the cover, will come as no surprise as to what that is. Yeah, I can't look at this book without thinking about my daughter, thinking about how we named her, thinking about her character and how alike she is to Matilda. And yeah, it was one of my favourite books growing up, and hence why my daughter is called Matilda. Next is name a book you acquired in an interesting way. I'm stumped for this one. I genuinely don't think there's anything that I've particularly got in an interesting way, so I'm going to have to pass. The next question is asking, have I ever given a book away for a particular reason or a special reason? I give books away a lot, and I swap books with friends, and I gift books to people that I think they'll like quite regularly out of my friends. The most recent book that I gave away was to the lovely Lauren from Lauren and the Books, and that is because she does a podcast with Mercedes. They were discussing in their last podcast about graphic novels. She'd mentioned, I think Mercedes mentioned the Evie Wyld book, Everything Has Teeth, and how much she loved it. Lauren was really excited and she wanted to try it. I had it on my shelf and didn't really enjoy it. It's not one that I would go back for, but I tend to keep graphic novels even if they're not my favourites because I do, and so I sent her that because I think it will be more appreciated in her household than in mine. The next question again is a pass for me, and that's asking which book has been most places with me. I don't tend to reread books, so books don't tend to come with me more than once somewhere. The next question is any required reading you hated in school that you enjoyed later in life. I don't think that I read anything since school that I read in school. I think I appreciate Shakespeare more now for its story, and I definitely think with age the way that those are written are easier to get your head round, and you've been exposed to more adaptations of them, so possibly Shakespeare. The next question is used or brand new. I'm not fussed. I like books that are used or brand new. If they're used, I really rather they weren't missing a front cover or any pages, because obviously, you know, can't read the story then. But other than that, I'm pretty happy used or new. The next question is if I have ever read a Dan Brown book. Yes, I've read quite a few Dan Brown books, and they were good for the time that I was reading. At the point in my life where I was reading Dan Brown, I enjoyed the stories. They were fast paced. They got me excited about reading again, so I don't think that there can be anything wrong with a book that encourages you to read, whether it is the literary perfect novel or not. I think any book that gets you excited about reading again has got to be worthwhile. Have you ever seen a movie you preferred to the book? I can't think of one offhand, but one thing that I liked the book and the movie both as much as each other, and they were both quite different in certain areas, was The Duff. I really enjoyed The Duff by Cody Keplinger as a book. I found it brilliant. It made me laugh, it made me cry, it made me all happy and glowy inside. And the film, they'd changed a couple of things to do with her home dynamic, and yet it still worked and provided me with that sort of feel-good factor at the end, and the fun and laughter and escapades of teenage life in the middle. The next is, have you ever read a book that makes you hungry? I'm currently working my way through the recipes of the Happy Pear books, which are downstairs, and I'm lazy, so I'll put them up here. The recipes in here are amazing. Since January, I've been vegetarian. And not for any ethical reason, just fancied giving it a go to see if it made my body feel different and made me feel different, and it has. And it's also widened my experience of cooking meals with vegetables and making meals interesting. I wanted to I love cooking, by the way, and I wanted to expand my horizons in how I prepared vegetables and non-meat meals, because you tend to get stuck in a rut of like roasting vegetables or boiling vegetables, and I wanted to create some more interesting dishes for myself, and this seemed like a good way, and I've really enjoyed some of these so far, especially the avocado like key lime pie is lovely and a staple in our house when we have guests now. The next question is, who is the person whose book advice you always take? Well, I think it will come as no surprise because they are people that I'm friends with and I talk with regularly. But Caitlin, I definitely take recommendations of what she thinks I might like in science fiction and fantasy. She reads a heck of a lot more than me, and she knows me very well now, and she knows my tastes, and she knows the type of stuff that I might like, so I would definitely take recommendations from her. Also, Janet from Swirly Girly Reads. We're very similar in our reading likes and dislikes. There may be the occasional book that we have very differing views on, but that is very few and far between, so I would definitely take her recommendation as well. And the final question is there a book out of your comfort zone or outside your usual reading genre that you ended up loving? And the most recent one I can think of is that I don't read much horror or things that are classed in the genre of horror. Recently I read Hex by Thomas Hoodvelt. Oh, can't remember if that's his name, but it'll be up here for you. And it's a horror book. It's about set in a small town. They're closed off from everywhere else. The people that try to leave are given this sort of feeling that they want to commit suicide, and if they stay too long they do. So they're kept in this town, and there is this woman with eyes and mouth sewn up shut that just appears anywhere. Could appear like next to me now. You know, just standing there, and the people are so used to it they tend to just ignore it, but it all stems back from sort of witch trials and things like that, and it was good. I really enjoyed it. I think I gave it 4 stars, so that was out of my comfort zone and one I'm pleased I gave a go. Anyway, I am going to tag in this Lauren from Lauren and the Books, Simon from Savage Reads, Jen from Jen Campbell, Janet from Swirly Girly Reads, and oh, someone else that I want to tag. Who can I think of? Jean from Jean's Bookish Thoughts. Okay, they may have already done this, but if they haven't and you haven't, then do this. And if I didn't just mention you, do it anyway, because it's really interesting and fun. Anyway, that's it from me, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Bye for now, BookTube.